All right, Red Dog, welcome back. Happy Tuesday. It is time to rise and grind. And as promised from the last time that you joined us, my push-ups are already booked, and this marks 7 days in a row for me since I started last Tuesday. Good morning, boss. How you doing?
You know what they call 7 days, Ryan?
A week.
A streak. There you go. I love it. I love it. You know what?
You
A lot
know
of
what I
people
love?
doing it.
I love that you said this is not a spectator sport, and you're absolutely right about that. I'll say this. I kind of started mixing in some physical activity into my workday starting last year. I've now added these push-ups on top of it, and it changes the entire day. So kudos to you for getting people to get involved with physical fitness. I think this is absolutely awesome. I think this makes our days better as traders.
You know, we can control that. Sometimes you can't control the action. Sometimes a bad day happens. And how do you blow off a bad day? You do something that's in your control, a little fitness, a little sweat, make yourself feel good. You know, they say the best promises you keep are the ones to yourself, right? If you say you're going to eat better and you're going to do your push-ups every day and for some reason you don't, that weighs on your head. So when you do it and you control what you can control, at least you know something's going right. Same way, remember that the Marine with his famous speech, like first thing you want to do in the morning is just make your bed.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a small thing. You get it done. And if you have a horrible day, at least you come home to a made bed. So if you didn't make money in the market, at least you did your push-ups, at least you ate healthy, and you know, you're trying to do something constructive. And hopefully, you know, as long as you followed your plan and you had a bad day, that happens too. You know, yesterday was a huge down day. You know, there were definitely some things to see on Friday that could have given you some clues that you should have some risk down, but it was hard to see that we were going to be down 130, 140 handles in the S&P.
Yep.
But you know, you didn't really have to know. All you had to do is read some of the tea leaves from Friday.
Absolutely. Real quick here, you had said, I believe that you say here, change your habits and your habits will change you.
Yeah, or you know, first you make your habits, then your habits make you. Or if you want to make changes, then you have to make changes. If you want to change your life, how do you not? You know, you can't change it without making changes. And here is a chart of the spies. So you know, a lot of guys are like, hey, Red Dog, what's your thoughts today? I'm like, well, you know, spies are up a little bit. A lot of people are having kind of their opinions. You're seeing all the analysts come out, Ryan, about whether they're defending NVIDIA, they're defending AI, they're this or that. Bottom line is you have a huge hole in the chart here. You had a small red dog reversal on Friday to give you some clues into an all-time high, to at least take some risk down ahead of the Fed. Like we have the Fed tomorrow. So as a trader, you try and have a little bit of risk down, you know, so with a red dog reversal sell and a lower high in the Qs and NVIDIA giving you a bearish engulfing day to the downside on Friday, why would any traders be cajones to the wall coming in on yesterday? Some guys that had their best days because there were actually some sell and some short signals. Not me. At least what I did is I had a hedge. I had some SPY short on, so that helped me with my leftover positions. But for now, the question is, I think like every day there's like a new narrative. Question is like, you know, will NVIDIA even get into the gap? Right now, I'm along a little NVIDIA for a bounce. I'm going to be very careful, and maybe it tries to get in the bounce. But if NVIDIA can't even get in the bounce and it opens up 3 and goes red, you know, chances are, you know, you're not going to need to be in a rush here to be, you know, so exposed to NVIDIA or any semis.
Absolutely. Real quick here. This is Scott Redler. Trade along or trade the lead up to and the aftermath of the Fed meeting with Scott, totally free. That's going on right now. Be sure to scan that QR code. Link is in the chat. Red Dog, you were starting off there by talking about the SPY. I had mentioned earlier, we're in a gap here. Let me just ask you straight up. Do we fill that gap here today?
That's a full-fledged guess, my friend. At this point, what I'll say is in order to fill this gap, you got to hold 599.69. And if you look right here, the SPYs are up only $1.12. It's not like it's having some gangbuster rally back, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So the SPYs right now are at 646. So if you could see here, do you see the level 2 above it? No, it doesn't actually show it. So anyway, first step is first step, right? We go one step at a time, Ryan. First step is we're above yesterday's high of 599.69. In order to fill, you know, the gap, you have to hold that. So we'll see if we hold that or not. If we hold that for a little bit, some shorts probably get squeezed, maybe some bottom feeders come in, and then we see how much of this gap gets filled. And then if it doesn't do it tomorrow, there'll probably be another attempt, you know, on Fed Day, because on Fed Day, they always like to, you know, press both sides of the envelope, squeeze some shorts to the upside, and then squeeze, you know, stop some people out to the long side, and then you usually get the real trend on Thursday even, and that'll be after a few earnings. But 599.69 is the key to today. Do we hold above it to fill the gap, or do we fail and go red? we'll see. And the market action will tell us.
Yeah, and you had just mentioned it right there. You had talked about some of the earnings that are coming up. That's my next question here. Big earnings this week with Meta, Microsoft, and Apple, but of course we got Tesla. I know that's your baby. So what are the charts saying here? How are you playing it for these earnings, if you are playing it at all?
I started actually buying Meta last week for earnings, and I did that pretty well, to be honest. I started buying it when it was tight. Sometimes I like to buy options for earnings before a move, just in case it gives you a pre-earnings move. And I started buying the 645s in here, which was a great entry right around January 22nd, around 625. And it wound up, I wound up going through the highs on Friday. I created a call spread to help finance it. And then yesterday, you were able to manage it, actually. The Meta was down 20 yesterday, so I was able to buy the short side back and then sit. And then it went green, and I put the short side back on. So I'm sitting in a call spread for Meta earnings. Right now, we're at highs. If we continue higher into tomorrow pre-earnings, I might take it off because I have what do I have on a 645 by 680? So I might turn it into a lotto spread and risk less. But at this point, I don't have Tesla on. I do not have Tesla on for earnings. To me, Tesla was awesome. It was my biggest pre-election trade and post-election trade. But ever since this small red dog reversal top at 488 or this lower high at 465, or even here it started getting choppier, to me, I think, using common sense, I just don't think it's going to be a great quarter. Obviously, everyone's looking ahead to AI, robotics, robo-taxis. So I do think that I don't need to have options on because the premiums are so high. I think I could trade it after the report. Maybe it goes lower with the report, and then on the conference call, they start talking about all the future and make false promises like they usually do. No, I'm kidding. They don't do that. Did I say that?
We'll hold it against you.
And then maybe I'll rebuy it back, or I'll rebuy it the day after. But for right now, Tesla, even yesterday, Tesla tried to go green, and it was down 13, whereas Meta acted better, Amazon acted better, even Netflix acted better. So for right now, not saying on Inauguration Day since then, I think there's been a lot of banter around Elon. That was a pretty stupid thing that he did. I'm not going to say what it means, but he had clear sailing, and now there's a lot of debate around his antics, and at this point, I feel like Tesla right now has a little bit to prove through this earnings report. So I'm not going to take a call spread on Tesla.
Okay, real good. Actually, by the way, we recently polled our group here in the morning, are Elon's actions helping or hurting Tesla? And I can't recall the exact percentages, but I believe a majority of the group said, yes, indeed, they are hurting. So it'll be interesting to see if that plays out here in some of the charts.
They were really helping up until Inauguration Day. And then when he friggin' got all excited like that, and even I was watching, I'm like, what did he just do?
Yeah. And
granted, it was exciting. He's not going out and killing 6-8 million Jews like friggin' Hitler did, or the Nazis did. And, I'm Jewish. So it's like, I'm giving him a little pass, but it was just dumb because he just opened himself up for all this debate and all this criticism. And then he also went against Stargate. So the honeymoon period between Elon and Trump feel a little bit like, on edge. So I feel like that's why the chart's a little on edge, right? Here,
I think that's spot on.
I'm elected, he red dog reversal sell. Now it's like, plus the whole EV market's just not great right now. So if they're going to, in earnings, you talk about credits, you talk about, what just happened. And I think the initial is not going to look fantastic, but then looking ahead, you could always paint a rosy picture and then put it off when it's not there yet. So then I'll judge the action a little bit more.
Okay, last question here. We'll get you out of here on this. And if you want to punt it, I totally get it, but it's the topic du jour right now. What do you think of DeepSeek? And maybe you don't have experience with the actual model, but what do you think it's going to mean for stocks like NVIDIA or the entire kind of AI theme that we have rolling on right now?
Well, first of all, I'm really not smart enough to know. I'm not going to act like I'm a DeepSeek expert like everyone else out there on Twitter. All I'm going to say again is NVIDIA's got a big ASS hole in the chart. So this is going to tell me on what the market thinks of it. If NVIDIA can't fill a big portion of this gap because it's on sale, that just shows me there's a lot of sellers out there and people are more concerned, and I'm going to stay out of the way. And if it gets below 116.70 and loses a 200-day, there's a term out there to say nothing happens good below the 200-day. So I'm sure if NVIDIA can't find a friend, above the 200-day and goes below, all the semis are going to be in the penalty box. And then I just want to see how it affects tech. So yesterday, one of my thoughts was, hey, will this be a whole revaluation of tech? So that's why if you go to like Netflix, I was like, hey, Netflix already reported earnings. Let's see how that reacts. It doesn't have AI, it doesn't have semis. And so far it's still holding 950. So it's showing that, hey, on an individual stock basis, Netflix is still just fine as long as it holds 950. Meta made a new all-time high yesterday. Amazon came roaring back. So to me, it's saying, hey, it's specific and there are different ramifications. Some people are like, hey, Red Dog, if the AI spend is less and everything's cheaper, that's deflationary. That's good for the Fed. That's good for the equal weight S&P. That's good for Amazon. Amazon's margins are always not so great, so maybe their margins will be better. I was like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. So I started buying Amazon in the hole yesterday. And now let's see, can it get above 236.40? If it does, maybe it follows Meta's footprint. So for me, I'm going step by step. I try not to have too big of opinions. I have multiple thoughts, and I let the market confirm which way the narrative goes.
That's awesome. And that is the sign of an experienced trader right there. Red Dog, really appreciate it. Again, folks, take or trade the lead up to and the aftermath of the Fed meeting with Scott Redler. It's going on right now. QR code at the bottom of the screen, link in the chat. Red Dog, we appreciate it. Keep up the rise and grind. I'll be there with you. We'll see you next time. All right, boss?
Love it. Thanks for joining. And I appreciate the positive vibes. You always do a great job, Ryan.